Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the SMG studios for our Intrepidity podcast featuring the bold and fearless. Today, I'm joined by none other than JJ Showtime. JJ, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody knows this podcast is built on incredible comeback stories, and we want to be able to share people that have gone through unbelievable situations in their life, not to just overcome them, but to be thriving in life. JJ, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? How old are you? And how do we get to present day?
I was born in Aurora. I'm 30 years old. Been everywhere from extreme child abuse to juvie to prison, to almost a life sentence in prison, to now gearing up to fight on about as many cards as I can get on.
Yeah, I've been seeing how much you've been training hard. I've been watching like some backyard brawls, which just make me laugh because one of my friends is like, man, I know how Sparta really started, because when we were younger, we used to go to Roller City for the all-nighters, right? Yeah. And we would invite kids over to my house afterwards, like after hours, and we would do kumites in the backyard because blood sport was big back then. Yeah. So he's like, this is where you got the idea. So I couldn't help but laugh. I was like watching you guys spar in the backyard. I was like, this is creative, man. You can't hold you back, right?
Well, it's kind of where I got my start as a kid. I forget how old I was. I want to say I was middle school or high school level, but Fighting with Channing Tatum came out. So everyone wanted to street fight for money. And so as kids, that's what we did, man. We went to the hookah bar, we lined up the cars, we made the ring, and we got down in the street. And that's where I made my money young, and that's where I learned that I could fight really well. And then the only problem was I just never took it serious enough to get out of my own way, because I wanted to party and I wanted to do dumb shit. And so I would train all day but party all night. You burn the candle at both ends, you're not gonna succeed. And I didn't. Yeah,
it's tough. Well, I want to dive into it. You have an incredible story. I want you to walk us through, what led to what happened that put you in prison for 6 years?
So around, I think it was 2013, I ended up getting in a bar fight. Was talking to a girl, and her man showed up. He had a problem with it. They had a little argument. He slapped her across the face, and I lost it. Between being drunk, I've been raised by women all my life because my dad was a piece of shit. And so, I wasn't cool with that, and I beat the hell out of him. And because of my MMA background and because of my size, they really didn't take it lightly. They didn't view it as just a bar fight or self-defense or nothing like that, man. They viewed it very seriously. I was pretty lucky that I only got a 10-year sentence out of it, and I served almost 6 on it.
Wow. So did you go to jail that night?
No. I got a phone call the next day from investigators. Said, hey man, we know that you were in an altercation last night. You need to come in. We need to talk to you, and it's extremely serious, and we don't know if he's gonna live. I said, all right, and I went in, and they, took me into custody and showed me I was facing 32 years for first-degree assault as a deadly weapon, and got a lawyer and fought it for I think like a year and a half until we got it down to second degree. 5 to 16, and I pled, and the judge gave me 10.
Do you remember sitting in the courtroom that day? What was running through your head when you were sentenced? What were the thoughts in your head at that moment?
So I walked in the courtroom smiling. Everyone thought I was going to get a 5-year sentence. Everyone thought, hey man, it's your first offense. You were defending a girl. You'll get 5. You'll do 6 months. You'll go to the halfway house. Who cares? And when he said 10 years, all the air left the room. I felt like I got punched in the gut. I couldn't breathe. I've never felt anything like that before, man. That was probably the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. To hear the gasp from my family, and then all the tears start flowing from everyone. I just told him, man, get me out of here. Get me back to the holding tank. I can't be in here. I'll sign my paperwork later. Just get me out of here.
Did you have a prior record? Why was the judge, you feel like, so hard on you?
For one, at this time was when they were really trying to curb the nightlife violence in Denver. But for two, like he said in the courtroom, because of your size and your training, you should know better. And you should know, essentially what it was is you should only throw one punch and nothing else. The laws in Denver are kind of skewed. If you break a bone, it's not a mandatory minimum 5-year sentence.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what they gave me, that second degree assault. And like the DA said in court, had I only broken his nose, 5 years would have sufficed. But because I did so much more damage, I needed 10 to 16 years, which to me is baffling that if you feel a broken nose deserves 5-year sentence in prison.
Yeah. I mean, and for those of you out there that, think it's cool to get in street fights and bar fights, this is a prime example of what can happen. I see videos all the time getting posted on Facebook of somebody getting knocked out, and, you hear the horror stories of somebody falling, hitting their head and dying.
Oh, yeah.
And, it can go either way. And a lot of people have avoided situations in street fights that with terrible outcomes. You didn't.
Right.
So now, you've just been sentenced to 10 years in prison. Where do they take you? Where's your first stop?
So I went back to my cell in county and got to, enjoy that night of just thinking about how I'm going to lose my entire 20s to prison, which I never even viewed prison as a reality for myself. And I think it was like 3 or 4 the next morning, man. They come in, pack it up, you're going to DRDC, and took me on the bus, took me to DRDC, where you get your prison intake and they do all the testing on you and diagnostics and whatever, try to figure out where you go. And that's miserable. That place is messed up. You're locked in your cell 24 hours. There is no out time. There's no like being around anyone else except for the little, movements when you go to chow. And from there, took me to Canyon City, to what's called Sal House 5, which is just a shit show. It's a holdover tank where, I don't know, I think there's about 300 guys from different prisons in there, and no one wants to be there, so everyone's acting up. And then they took me to Crowley, and Crowley's where I started. Crowley's a medium down in like Las Animas County, and a private prison. And that's where I got my start. And that's where hell, as soon as they walked me into my pod, I walked in myself. All the Sureños came running in, and what's up, homie? Where you from? Just within 10 seconds of being in my cell, it's nut check time.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is there.
Yeah.
Depending on what your ethnicity is, whoever's running in, and let me see your paperwork and where you from and what's up, and you kind of gotta get down.
Yeah, for sure. So I think at this time, reality's probably set in that you're in prison. What is that first 30 days like for you?
Trying to get adjusted to what it is in there, seeing exactly what it is. Learning the politics and all that bullshit, and who you maneuver with. It's very racial in there. It's ignorant. It's ignorant in there completely. The prison politics and all, it's bullshit. It's ignorant as can be. But you have to figure out how to maneuver in there because you're new. You don't really know what's going on. You're watching people get stabbed and shit. You're like, all right, this is reality. This is where I'm at. And then you just kind of find your routine. Yeah. You find what, okay, I'm going to work out at this time. I'm going to study at this time. I'm going to do this and this and that this time. All you can do is find a routine and try to accept the fact that I'm going to be here for a long time. Yeah. I'm going to be here for 10 years. I'm going to be here for a decade.
So you get there for the first 30 days. Walk us through where the mind shift happens. Is it 1 year in? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years where you decide that you're going to start bettering yourself and become the person that you are now today?
I think it took at least a full calendar year for the reality of this is where I'm at and this is where I'm going to be for a long time, because I'm pretty sure everyone that goes in at every day is like, something's going to happen. I don't belong in here. So my attorney's going to call me. I'm going to get a letter in the mail, they're going to overturn it. I'm going to get reconsideration, whatever. And then finally, when you exhaust all your appeals and stuff, and the reality hits you, like, all right, I'm here. We were actually in Crowley training MMA. They were calling it Crowley MMA. The staff allowed, there's about 5 of us in there that, they Googled us and whatnot and kind of knew of who we were. I wrestled for CSU Pueblo, so a lot of the staff knew me from that. And they were full on letting us train. And I think that's what helped me the most get through that first year of prison, is that I was able to somewhat be back in reality, if you can say, Yeah. Instead of this prison BS and the politics and whatever, I'm in the gym with like-minded individuals doing what I love. And that's what was able to keep me above water until I hit that turning point where I was like, okay, this is what I want for my life. When that is when I turned 28 years old in prison. I got denied parole. I got denied the halfway house. And my goal had been to be freed by the age of 28 and to get out and start training and to do what I want to do and accomplish all this stuff by 30. When that happened, because of the time format of parole and when you see parole and X, Y, and Z, I then knew I had no chance of being free before my 30th birthday. So I had to really reevaluate my life and my plans and my goals and what I want to accomplish. Because now I'm going to be getting out of prison in my 30s. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not going to be viewed as a kid. What do I really want out of my life, man? What am I going to do? Because I'm out of time to just go for it, to just keep trying different things and whatever works, whatever doesn't. I'm past that point. I'm not 20 years old anymore. So, that's where I made the conscious decision to become sober. That's where I made my plans and goals with the barbering and with the fighting. And I listed it out, man. What I would be doing, what I wouldn't be doing, what's going to help me achieve my dreams and what's going to be a hindrance to it. And every single day I went over that. Every single day I went over my goals. I went over what I'm going to do when I get out. I did a lot of visualizations, a lot of affirmations. Hell, I did visualizations with sobriety as if I was preparing for a fight. I would visualize being in the club and the peer pressures and all that kind of stuff. And people question me on it a lot because it's pretty rare in Denver to be sober. It's a big party scene, party town. And a lot of people question me on it. Why are you sober? You never had a problem or anything like that. It's as simple as it's not going to help me achieve my dreams.
Yep.
I train day in and day out to get to where I want to be to become a world champ. How's alcohol going to help? It's not. How many fighters have we seen that had all the potential in the world, man, and they lost it to partying?
Yeah.
They couldn't get out of their own way. Drinking, Coke, whatever it is.
Yeah, you see it a lot. See it in business and music, and especially in sports. Really high-profile athletes that could have just been amazing, but they damaged it because of drugs and alcohol and things like that. So you're in Crowley. You obviously moved around multiple prisons. Why do they move you like that?
It's actually hard to get out of a place like Crowley, which is a private, because it's all about money.
Yeah.
I was lucky in that me and some of my friends were hooking up with some of the case managers, so we pretty much got done whatever we needed to get done. And I wanted to try to get on to the firefighting program in Canyon City. So I asked the case manager, like, hey, will you move me? She said, yep, I got you. Boom. You're leaving Friday. Take care. Awesome. I ran for the program. I tried it out. I did the program. It was cool. From that point on, I kind of got moved around to different facilities for different programs I tried to get into. Essentially, once I had that turning point, I then wanted to make the most out of prison as I could. Whatever certifications I can get, whatever licensing I could get, whatever I could do to improve my chances of success upon release. My last year at Delta, I had mailed out over 500 letters, snail mail, to businesses, to workforce centers, to CDL licensing places, to schools. I mean, everywhere under the sun. And I think that's a big part of what helped me to get released, because when I turned in my paperwork, they were like, wow, this guy has so many job offers. He has so much going for him. I mean, my third day out, I believe I was already working in the barbershop. My fourth day out, I want to say, I was already at the gym training with the ankle monitor on, and we just wrapped the shit out of it and we start sparring. Like, I got out and hit the ground running only because I planned for it for years. Yeah. And I knew exactly what I would do when I got out.
Yeah, your attitude, and I just seen you one day pop up on social media, and you sent me a friend's request, and I just saw how proactive you were, and it's crazy. You would not think like this guy just got out of prison, because a lot of times like you see the cycle repeat in there, and I'm sure you saw it a ton. I saw it with my own brother, who I was telling you I hope to have on a guest at some point. I mean, he did 21 years in prison, and to see it like every time, it seemed like he got worse and worse and worse. And I remember when we would drive up to see him, or he would mail these drawings and stuff, home. I'm like, the talent some of these guys have is unbelievable. And they do it without like having the wood on the pencil, because it can be a weapon. So it's just the lead. So the sketches, and I don't know if you ever saw like the mirrors that are scraped out in back that have the color foil in it.
Dude, I mean They got a pen and it's just the piece of the pen and they wet toilet paper and dry it to make a handle to draw. I mean, my logo was drawn in prison.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine drew it in his prison cell and I paid $5 for it, for this logo.
Yeah.
And now it's my brand, it's what's on my shirt. It's my first night, I sold out of my entire stock. Like, the talent in there is incredible, and it's so disheartening to see 90+% of those guys with all that talent piss it away.
Yeah.
Typically for drugs.
Yeah.
I'm the exception. Like, I'm not the rule of someone who gets out of prison at all, by any means.
Yeah.
Most guys I know that are in prison are back in.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen that repeat, you know, several of our, you know, family members and stuff that had gone down that road. It's just like they just keep repeating it over and over and over. And is the system broken? Absolutely. But you know this better than anybody. Ultimately, it comes down to how bad do you want to change?
Yep.
How bad do you want it? You know, like that is ultimately what it comes to, you know?
You know, a lot of guys, man, it's all excuses. Parole's a setup. The halfway house is a setup. The system's a setup. It's out to get you. Blah, blah, blah. You can't succeed as a felon. You can't find nowhere to live. Blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a little bit of truth to all of that, but not enough truth to where that's what puts you back in prison.
Yeah.
You put your ass back in prison, period.
Yeah.
You know, because you hear these guys, I was doing good, man. I had a job and it was great. Yeah, I was smoking meth, but like not a lot. What do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have a set of rules to follow. And if you follow those rules, you're fine. They don't mess with you, dude. Like, parole in Colorado does not mess with you. They leave you alone if you do the right thing. If you wanna be jacking around, yeah, they're gonna be on your ass.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, they bluff everyone they love and everyone they know when they're in there. I'm gonna do this when I get out. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I promise.
Yeah.
All the while knowing that the first thing they're gonna do when they get out is get high and try to get laid.
Yeah.
That's all they care about.
Yeah.
Or go kick it with their homies. And it's a shame, man, when, you know, I see these guys, because they'll get out and they'll add me on social media right away. I had a good amount of respect in there because I'm a barber and you know, the very first night they get out and they were downtown drinking, you know, throwing up gang signs and all. What are you doing, bro? Like, that's what takes you back to prison. You got out and you're gangbanging and you're drunk, but you're gonna succeed? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, what I'd see sometimes too is they'd get out and maybe get turned down for 1 or 2 jobs and be like, oh, that's it. I tried. You know, they're fucking with me, and then they end up back in that cycle. You know, it's crazy. So like, walk us through, like, when did you find out you were getting out, and what was that emotion like? Was it a 30-day notice? Was it 10 days?
So I had a weird situation, man, because most of the time you see parole, and then if you're violent, you have to go to what's called the full board. And that's where the full parole board reviews your case and they give you an answer, and it's like 6 weeks from then. And then you get an exit date if they say yes, and it's like 2 to 6 weeks from that. Well, when Jared Polis took office and Dean Williams took over DOC, they brought back a program that was called ISPI. And what that is Intensive Supervised Parole-Inmate. So you can apply for this program while on inmate status, and if you're approved, you get to go home, but you're still considered an inmate. You're still considered to be in prison. And I hadn't heard of anyone ever getting it, and it was on the basis of, you know, employment, like treatment, or enrollment in school. Luckily, you know, I had all the job offers, I had all the school acceptances, and, you know, numerous AA sponsors and stuff like that. Well, anyway, I got seen by Arapahoe County and they approved me on the spot. They said they didn't have an issue. I got called into case management, and on a Thursday or on a Friday. I got called in on Friday last minute, and the head case manager said, be ready, you're on the bus Tuesday, you're going home.
Wow.
And I rode the prison bus all the way from Delta, way in the Western Slope, in full black box, cuffs, chains, the whole gambit. And I went on a 3-day excursion from there home. Took the prison tour, stayed at House 5 again, stayed at DRDC again, stayed in all kinds of holding tanks. And my PO picked me up, drove me home, and did my paperwork and said, congratulations.
What goes on in the mind during that part? Like, are you like, okay, is this really happening? Like, are they going to come back now and say there's a mistake and I've got to, you know, finish the rest of my sentence? Like, did that cross your mind at all?
Dude, that's all you think about, man. Like, that's all you think about. The whole trip, that's all you think about. You're like, I'm going to get there, and they're going to be like, sorry, we made a mistake. Actually, this happened, blah, blah, blah. You're going to go back to Delta in a week or so. Like, that's all you think about. Up until the minute where my PO walked in and was like, you ready? Let's go. That's where I was like, okay, this is real. Because, you know, they woke me up at 4 in the morning at DRDC, and I sat in a holding tank till about 1 in the afternoon waiting for my PO. So that whole time, you're just in your head like, oh, they're going to tell me they made a mistake, and they're just going to take me back upstairs, and this is a wrap. And it's a weird feeling. It's a rough feeling because you're so excited, but you're like, I don't believe it.
Yeah. Is this really happening?
Yeah.
So when you walk out of that gate a free man, what was going on in your mind?
That was crazy. It was just like I got in the car and I'm just like, I don't got to wear cuffs or nothing. Like, I'm good. And she's like, dude, you're free. Like, chill out. And she's driving me through town. And, you know, this is my first time in a vehicle where I'm not cuffed and black box and chained up. And I'm just like, wow. And we pull up to my grandma's house and just like, I'm here, you know? And the best feeling was, you know, while we're there doing my paperwork, my grandma showed up with my 3 little nephews, and they were all born since I was in prison. So they didn't necessarily know me. They've seen pictures of me and whatnot. And so they're like, who are you? I'm your uncle. What's up? Who are you? And finally they got, you know, they're like, all right. They all gave me a hug, and oh, dude, I lost it. Like, that was the best feeling on earth, man.
Yeah.
That right there is where you're like, all right, this is where I belong.
How much has changed in those 6 years, technology-wise, right? I remember when my brother first got out, he was like, what is this? You know, he's like, no clue what this is.
Dude, the only thing in 2020 that is the same as in 2014 is the shitty highways in Colorado. That is it, bro. Everything else changed. Like, I got out and I have an iPhone 11, and like, it's ringing like crazy, and I'm like, brother, put it on mute, bro. Like, how do I silence this? Like, I don't know how to use anything. When I went to prison, I had a Galaxy Note 3, like, and that was the newest phone.
Or the flip top.
Oh, dude, like, you know, TV, live streaming, everything out here is different. And I think that's what people don't realize either, is getting out of prison, man, mentally is such a struggle because nothing's the same.
Yeah.
Nothing. Your family's not the same, your friends, society, technology, like, nothing is the same. And so you're trying to play catch up and just like, well, what is all this, you know?
Yeah.
It was mind blowing. Like, I still don't know how to use my phone. Like, I know how to text.
Yeah.
Like, a girl just showed me that from my watch, I can take a picture from my phone and like do a timer. Didn't know that. Learned that 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, technology is crazy. I always joke, it's like, man, my 8-year-old daughter is so tech savvy. It's like, she showed me how to like run YouTube to the TV one day, and I was like, oh, that's how you did. That's cool. But I'm like, wait a minute, you're 7 years old, you know, at the time. So we laugh about that. So what's the picture of the of you with the dog in there? Was that one of the programs where they had you guys training dogs?
They do. They have dog training programs in Crowley, Bent, Sterling, all throughout Canyon City. And I don't know, man, I think that's got to be probably the best program in prison. I wasn't able to participate in it because the waiting list was so long, and I wasn't on a yard long enough to finally get in. But I know people personally who have had their dogs trained in Sterling, and it's the best training their dogs have ever gotten. Yeah. Like, those dogs get more love than anywhere on earth, you know, because everyone's just so happy. Like, here's a little pup, you know?
Yeah. And
so we got to take pictures with them. So I'm in this picture, this big old German Shepherd, man. And it's weird how something as simple as a dog, being able to pet a dog and a dog licking your face can completely change your day when you're having the worst day in prison. You know, everyone has their bad days. You're locked in this close confinement, and instead of acting out, oh, look, here's a pup, give him a hug.
Yeah.
Okay, day's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, just in life in general, dogs, right? They're amazing. And I was talking to a friend about it the other day. It's like, it sucks that they don't live longer, but like, I believe, you know, that they don't need to, because they've taught their life lessons in a shorter period of time, and they understand love and forgiveness fully, which sometimes we don't. Mm-hmm. It takes us many, many years. Yeah, so I think that, you know, dogs can be used as medicine in so many different ways. You know, they're with service members in the military. You know, I had seen those programs in prison, and I saw that picture. One of your first pictures was that. Is that one that you used on eHarmony? Like, was that your first dating profile pic?
That was oh, what the hell's the website? I think it's called like Prison Pen Pals or some shit like that. Absolutely, that was the headliner.
I can't help but to laugh
Like,
because
it worked.
Oh, dude, my brother would always be like, "What's up with the hyenas?" Right? Like, you got them like at home, like, send me a letter because you guys get pen pals. So that part was super funny.
Oh, dude, I posted my mugshot on Facebook and I had marriage requests. Like, it's interesting, man.
That's awesome. Well, your story's so unique because somebody never in a million years would think that that you've been to prison. You're very articulate. You're very outgoing. The way you carry yourself, a lot of confidence. You've got a great outgoing personality. You're funny. And the thing about that is like, think about like one night of, we're set up on this path, right? In this journey, and we're going down a road, and we could either go straight, some of us go right, some of us go left, and it can completely change the trajectory of our life. Mm-hmm. That one fight, had you just said, fuck it, I'm going home, I'm done right now, a different path, right? But that's not what happened. And so that's what's crazy. We talk about it all the time, and I look back and can think of like major mistakes that I've made in my life, not business related, just in my personal life. Alcohol was involved.
Yep.
For sure. And it's not that like, hey man, I love to have a good time just as much as anybody. I like to have a few beers at the ball game or the fight, things like that. But for other people, it can completely, just that small mistake can change your life. When it was like 2005, I lived in this townhome in Arvada, and I owned a supplement company, and this guy, Greg, was an awesome guy. He was a contractor that I met at the gym. He's like, man, if you just trade me supplements, I'll do all the remodel on your house. And I'm like, done deal. So he came and he was putting in windows and doing my hardwood floors and everything. And he didn't show up one day. So I was like, well, maybe he's sick. He didn't answer his phone. He didn't show up again. And then one of our mutual friends called me. He's like, did you hear about Greg? I was like, no. So he was at a bar and he had a little too much to drink. And he decided to drive home, and he killed a guy on a motorcycle. And this is a guy that had no prior record at all. He had no kids. He just had his dog and his business that he loved so much. But an incredible guy. He ended up doing, I think he got sentenced to 7 years in prison. And I've never seen him again after that. So I don't know the direction it took in his life. But good people make mistakes. Yep. It happens. It happens. Good people commit heinous crimes sometimes too. Like crimes of passion. Things like that. So I think it's so easy sometimes for somebody to be like, oh, he's a convict or he's an ex-con, and so you get this negative, judging that, everybody's made mistakes in their life. Some have just been caught for it and some haven't, And so I, without even really knowing you much, man, I'm very proud of the actions that you've taken. Like, what advice can you give to somebody that's coming out of your situation? Maybe they just got out of prison, last month, last week, and they're lost.
I've actually had to deal with this a little bit. I had a good friend of mine get released here recently, and I had to go to his house and talk with him for hours, really, and went through the whole gambit of everything I went through from the day I got out till now, mentally, legally, family, women, everything, because you don't expect any of it at all, and you don't know how to handle any of it because it's so new to you. To me, I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I'm not really with bullshit. If you want to succeed, you're going to.
Yeah.
If you don't, you won't. End of story. Your parents don't matter. Your homies don't matter. And I hate to say it, but even your kids, when it comes to you, no one else matters but you. You're not going to do it for anybody else but yourself. So you can lie to your family, you can lie to your children, you can lie to your friends, but you can't lie to yourself. You know the truth. And it's not hard to succeed out here. It's not easy by any means. I'm not saying that, but if you want to do the right thing, it's not difficult. If you want to be employed, it's not hard to get a job in Denver.
Yeah.
Anyone who says is full shit. Like, they just don't want those jobs.
Yeah.
A bad thing about prison is it causes you to be so entitled. I don't know why, but you become so entitled as a felon, most people. And, probably because prison's so easy. You're so taken care of. Hell, you're living off other people's money. You have everything you want. You have no responsibility. So you get out to the real world. Well, I don't want to work for 15 an hour, 20 an hour. I don't want to do this job. I don't want to do this job. I should be able to do this. Well, you're not, you don't meet the criteria for that job. Right. What makes you should have that job? What makes you think you should have that job when someone's been working years for that job and you're fresh out of prison? Be grateful for whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
And I think that probably the biggest thing that has helped me the most in my success since getting out has been gratitude and humility. I don't expect anything to come my way because I have done nothing to earn any of that, but I'm extremely grateful for what does come my way, and I bust my ass. And that's why I say when I got the offer with the barbershop, when do you want me there? Can you start tomorrow? I'll be there.
Yeah, I see you posting pictures day and night. Like before I knew you, like I said, when I just kind of knew you on social media, I was like, man, this dude is hustling. And I admire that. I love that because I've always prided myself on being the hardest worker in the room.
Yeah.
And so you're like, you recognize that in other people when they're doing it. You know, when you're in prison, there's so many tough nights, obviously, and very few good ones. Do you remember the worst night that you had there and when you completely broke down into a point where you're like, I have to change my life. These are the things I have to do if it's going to get better. Because I can tell you in almost any part of life, whether you've been in prison or you're just going in life and you're tired of living a certain way, whether it's addiction, abuse, any of that stuff, like you come to a point where you're like, this is it. I can't live like this anymore. Do you remember when that happened for you?
Yeah, 28th birthday. Hands down, 28th birthday. And that's where, I broke down and I completely analyzed every part of my life, my past, my present, my future, and what do I want? And it was, I want to get out. I want to work in a barbershop. I want to own my own barbershop. I want to get back into fighting. I want to be a world champ. And that's what it boiled down to. And like I said, I broke down what's going to help me achieve those and what's not. And that's the day I became sober. That's the day I said I'll never have a drink again, only because it is not conducive to my future and my goals. Yeah. But that was the turning point. That was the epiphany. That was the, whatever, however you want to phrase it, that night kicked my ass for sure.
It's awesome because you need that though, right? Sometimes you have to feel like you have lost everything in your life to be able to rebuild, to pick up and rebuild.
Had I not gone to prison and had I not had that birthday in prison, I would not be here today in the status that I am. I wouldn't be sober. I wouldn't be as successful or whatever as I am today. I'd still be out partying my balls off every night, doing whatever I want, and just living as fast as I can until it catches up to me.
Yeah. So that's something, what is unique about our conversation in connecting and started to talk a little bit is that we didn't really talk about fighting a whole lot. We were just talking about life, right?
Yeah.
And some similarities in our childhood and things that propelled us to wanting success. So it's so funny because like just one day I see that Steve has your name on a fight card that we're doing, and he's like, man, I got this guy JJ, he's a beast. And I was like, he's a fighter? I was like, I didn't even know, I didn't even know that. I mean, I knew that you had wrestled, and so I was like even more shocked that it was boxing. Mm-hmm. And so we had a good laugh about that, and I was like, this guy's fighting. And then you're like, yo, I need 300 tickets. I'm like, I like this guy a lot. And then COVID comes in, and it kind of hits us. So I know we were talking about it offset a little bit. You just got out. Your 30th birthday was coming up on April 26th, the night of AVM.
25th, yep.
Or 25th, and you were going to fight an MMA fight that night, right? At Budweiser Event Center in front of 5,000 people.
Yeah.
What kind of goes, what's the regression there mentally for you to feel like I just got my freedom? When did you get out? What was the date you got out?
So I got out November 8th. I got my ankle monitor off, I want to say February sometime. The day after that is when I signed with you guys, with Steve, for the boxing match.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit and the quarantine hit, I was 2 weeks out from that first fight, from that debut. And then with also having my MMA bout planned for AVM on my birthday, which to me is phenomenal. I'm fresh out, and I'm going to be able to spend my very first free birthday in 6 years in the cage doing what I love in front of thousands of people. Yeah. I'm going to kick the shit out of this dude, bro.
Yeah, right?
And that was taken from me. So birthday was kind of rough this year. I mean, it was cool, but it was having that in the back of my mind, I should be in a cage right now, man. Yeah. That was a bit of an ass kicker for me.
Who do you look up to as in fighting? Who are the fighters that you admire on the MMA side that you know, you like them for either their style or just who they are?
For who they are as a person and how tough they are as a fighter, hands down is Gaethje. And I've followed him since UNC. From being a wrestler and coming from that lifestyle, that dude, I've always looked up to him. And most of the time, if someone comes from a wrestling background, I hold them to a higher pedestal because I know what I've gone through what you've gone through as a fighter. Wrestlers are a different breed, you know? And, but who really gives me a lot of motivation, and I hate to sound, you know, so like everyone else, but is Conor McGregor. I mean, once you get past the glitz and glam and the shit talk and whatever, the dude was a plumber.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a basic ass plumber with pimples on his face.
Yeah.
Doing whatever he could to survive, to make ends meet. And he said, I'm gonna be the world champ, and everyone laughed at him. And now look at who he is.
Yeah.
He's the biggest name in sports, combat sports period ever.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. That documentary on Netflix, right?
Is incredible.
It's incredible. His just rise was so in people's so fast, right?
Yeah.
But we talk about it all the time, and the purpose of this podcast is people see public glory but never the private struggle.
Yes.
And you know, talking about Gaethje, you know, he's been a friend of mine for many years. And today, offset, one of my friend Jeremy, he was texting me. He's like, "Do you see this? Oh man, McGregor's talking mad shit to Justin right now. he's like, you know, there's no glory in a leg hugger like Khabib. Come get this real stuff. I'll whip your ass, smash your teeth out. You know, doing what Conor does.
Yep.
But he's a businessman like Floyd Mayweather. I mean, think about the level of businessman you got to be to talk the most famous, wealthiest boxer of all time into fighting you, and you getting an equal share of the money.
Yeah.
You know, so that's interesting. That's awesome because I mean, whether you like Conor or not, you got to respect what he's done. Right. I mean, he's got his own whiskey brand now. You know,
and UFC promotes his whiskey brand.
Well, because he's no dummy, he makes them.
Yeah.
You know, he's like
UFC, who doesn't allow anybody to have sponsors outside of Reebok.
Yep.
But here's proper 12 on the cage floor.
Yep.
You know, I respect Conor as a fighter. He's an amazing fighter.
Yep.
But so much more so as a businessman. And I
Yep.
think that's what falls by the wayside in the fighting world is we can all fight, bro.
Yeah.
We've all been made to do this shit. We all come from tough backgrounds. You know, we've all been through whatever in our lives. I'm no different from the next man.
Sure.
But I think so many fighters are blinded by, I know how to fight, so that's the end of it.
Yeah.
No, this is a business, bro.
Yep.
We're here to put on a show. We're here to make money. We're here to build our future. It's a lot more than fighting. Anyone can fight. And look how many fighters we know that don't have a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
And they're some of the best.
Yeah, you see it all the time. I used to get in a lot of arguments with some of the fighters years ago because they'd be like, I'm the best fighter on roster. I'm the most exciting fighter. I don't need to sell tickets. I don't sell tickets. Well, then you're not fighting because it's a business all the way around. And, and that's the toughest part of it, you know. But I want to circle back to Justin Gaethje because we were laughing because I'm like, the neighbors literally calling cops on me because I'm screaming and yelling and they don't know what's going on, right? And I'm like just losing my shit, going crazy because we were watching the fight. And I was just so happy for him because Justin, what I love about Justin is that he never changes, man. No. When he was fighting locally to fighting in World Series of Fighting to fighting in UFC when nobody believed that he should be there other than the circle that knew what he's capable of, to being like Ferguson, oh my gosh, like, you know, I don't like getting in drama, but man, I really wanted to get on all those UFC posts and be like, it's awfully quiet here right now.
Yeah.
You know, all the haters being like, oh, he's got no business in there with Tony. He beat the brakes off of him. You know, he just beat the brakes off of him.
Outfought him.
And then at the end takes the belt, throws it on the ground, and he's like, I'll wait for the real one.
Yeah.
You know, because that's just Justin. Who you see is what you get. Yep. And you know our friend Mike Surrey, his son's a huge Gaethje fan. And last week, you know, I was helping Justin look for a new car that he wanted. And so they took it over and wanted to test drive it. And his son really wanted to go, and he couldn't. So Justin said, let's make him a video, you know? So he made him a video like, hey, JJ, he's like, you know, look forward to seeing you at the next Sparta event. I hope you watch my fight this weekend. That's just Justin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is. And he never asks for any kind of kudos for what he does.
No.
He never, really tries to be public with shit.
No.
Like, he goes and does good things for people, and someone maybe will post it without him knowing.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this dude's, like.
That's not him.
No.
Man, I go to him all the time and I'm like, hey, I got some big fans. Can you autograph this? Yep, no problem. Here, give it to me. It's never a question. And I'm sure you're referring to him paying off the school lunches.
Yes.
Yeah, and like he doesn't ever want any of that glory. And that's him. That's what's different. That's what everybody loves about Justin though, right? Is he's just Justin. He doesn't want to be the Conor McGregor, but for selfish reasons, we got to see that fight.
Oh, absolutely we do. Yeah.
That's the fight. I think I think him and Khabib's interesting, obviously, because Khabib's 20-0, but I still think stylistically, Justin's it's just nasty. But him versus Conor, they both have lights out power.
Yes.
They both move very well, so it's going to be exciting to see what happens. But man, those are two great people to look up to from multiple ends of it. So. What's your plan? Like, how many times do you want to fight before you go pro? And where do you what's your plan for it?
So once we're off quarantine and we can start fighting, I plan the first 4 months to fight 4 times.
Yeah.
Kick the shit out of these dudes. Go pro. The first 2 months, fight twice. Kick the shit out of them, and take it as far as I can.
Yeah.
I'm a humble guy, man, and I really pride myself on that, and I show a lot of love everywhere. But as a fighter, these dudes can't fuck with me, and that's just what it is. And I've been waiting so long and so many years to finally show what I can do. And social media gets a small taste of it. We throw a little clip here on Facebook, a little clip there on Facebook. Melvin Gillard's my main training partner, and we're backyard brawling and shit,
Yeah.
And but people truly have no idea, and they're gonna find out, and they're gonna learn once I'm able to step into the cage. Which, it was, I was hoping it was gonna happen already. It's not, but it is what it is. It's just giving me more time to prepare.
Yeah.
More time to train.
We're excited because the heavyweight division has always been either so stacked or nothing at all, and then stacked to nothing at all. And then recently, there's been a lot of really good ones. Like I'm sure you had your eye and seen Zach Pauga from Elevation. He was supposed to go pro on AVM versus a friend of mine, Anselmo Gutierrez from Vegas, who He's got nasty ground game, and they're trying to move Zach quick. They believe he's got a lot of the tools. So there's some fun matchups out there, which I'm sure that you've seen and are looking forward to doing that. That's going to be really exciting. So you've been slammed cutting hair, obviously. Mm-hmm. You do a really good job there. So a dream of yours is to also own your own barbershop?
Absolutely. I can't be content with, I guess, just the status quo.
Yeah.
And I say that of just being a barber and just being a fighter. Mm-hmm. What's the point of that? There's a million barbers. There's a million fighters. And we don't know none of them. They're scraping to make ends meet or whatever. That's not how I live my life. I want to be the best at everything I do.
Yep.
And I'm going to own a barbershop. It's going to be a kick-ass barbershop. I'm going to be a world champ. That's the end of the story. And I won't allow myself to fail. And hell, I think it kind of shows we're on quarantine. I trained so damn hard for all this shit that I got rhabdo,
Yeah.
I don't stop, man. If I want some, I'm gonna achieve it.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna die trying, which I tried to do this week.
That's honestly the upside of obsessive personalities, right? Of like, it's better that you don't do alcohol anymore because maybe you control it, maybe you don't, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how it is. Everybody that I know and seen with addiction, I'm a very obsessive, and we talked about that, and that's why I didn't never do drugs because I seen what it did to my brother's life, and I've always been that person where if 2's good, then 4's better.
Yeah.
If 4's better, then 8's good, and I was like that in anything that I did in business, in the gym, whatever. I become so obsessed with it that sometimes you can lose yourself. And so the positive for that, anybody that has an obsessive personality, you're going to get it.
Absolutely.
They're going to get it.
Absolutely.
You're going to get it because there's no stop. It doesn't matter how many times we get knocked down. And already what you've overcome, it's incredible. Getting out of prison, you came from an abusive childhood, and not once have I ever heard you say that that's the reason you don't have something. Not once.
It's I look at it as this, man. I've been stabbed 9 times. I'm 6 years in prison. Most of my teenage years was in juvie. From a dad who beat me so severely from the age of 4 that I'd miss weeks of school locked in closets, drink out of toilets, eat dog shit. Like, I've been through the whole gambit. So what can you as another man do to me in a cage that's gonna make me afraid of you? Are you out of your mind? There's nothing. There's nothing that can scare me at this point. I've lived through all of it. So now it's enjoying life. This is the fun part.
Yeah.
I did the struggle, I did the suffering. This is the fun part. The training, the bleeding, the sweating, the crying, this is the fun part for me. I enjoy every second of it. Going to these mountains, running these mountains.
Yeah.
I love this shit, man. Like, it gets no better. This is what I spent 6 years waiting to do and looking forward to do, and now I get to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and you can see it. You can see it in people's passion and their energy that comes through, right? Like, those are the kind of people that we love to be around, and that I'm sure you love to be around as positive people. You know, it's when I watch you train and go, the other thing that I want to give you kudos for is like your work in the community. That's awesome. That's been a staple of Sparta the entire time, and a big passion for everybody that's a part of Sparta is we love giving back in the community. So I see that stuff and I highlight it. I love what Lumumba does. He's been doing that for years before there was any spotlight on it. And I think it's great, but I saw, what were you guys doing a couple of weeks ago, serving pizzas?
Yeah. So we were working with the Denver Dream Center and, you know, Anthony's Pizza, and they made 500 pizzas to be handed out to the hungry, to first responders, police, and firefighters, etc. And, you know, Mamba called me up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? You know, we're gonna go feed the hungry. Do you got time?" So I do now. The thing about it, anytime Mamba calls me, man, I'm there, because this dude has taken me under his wing, fresh out the joint. Like I said, I was 4 days out and I'm at his gym and he's running me through workouts, and he looks out for me on so many levels. And he's, you know, you're not going back. Like, if I'm in a hard workout, I'm starting to break, there he is.
Yeah.
This is what you work to get out for. You're not going back. Here's this belt, because he has a gym full of belts.
Yeah.
This is what you're working towards. Are you really gonna quit? Oh, well, all right, man, fuck you. Like, God damn. You know, he's done so much for me. And actually the owner of my barbershop is his cousin. So they're family as a whole. And they knew of me because I was in prison with some of their family.
Yeah.
And so I get out and they meet me, and they've done more for me than arguably most of my family has ever done.
Yeah.
And I'm big on loyalty, and that's who I'll be with forever. And to be able to help the community, like we drove all over town, man, and we're taking pizzas to people, and how grateful they were, because these people are out of work.
Yeah.
And they have all their kids, and, you know, I feel it. I've been out of work as a barber, but I'm a single dude. I'm 30 years old and I don't have kids. My life's not difficult. It's pretty fucking easy.
Yeah.
But you see these families, man, and it's tough to feed your kids as it is, let alone to be out of work for 2 months and then to try and just a pizza and some sodas, and they're crying. Like, that shit hits you, man. Like, that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, you mentioned gratitude. It's crazy because I tell people all the time, gratitude changed my life, because it's so easy to be like, oh, like pissed because this didn't go my way in a business deal or that didn't. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and then every time we go out there and you feed somebody in need or you help somebody else in need, to see their faith, one, right? Their faith, one, and two, how grateful they are for a pizza that, you know, cost $20 that maybe they couldn't afford without you guys bringing there. It puts your life in perspective. It
totally does. It's, you know, I think at some point, because we're all human, man, and we all fall into how tough our own life is.
Yeah.
Oh God, if only I made more money, or if only this, or if only that. And it's times like those, it's times like this quarantine that snaps us back to reality.
Yeah.
You know, to where I've gone to friends' houses just to take them food, to take them leftovers, to take them toilet paper, to take them paper towels, just simple, small essentials. And because I guess because I have the means to do so, you're struggling more than me, so let's equal it out.
Yeah.
Because you're my friend.
Yeah, and that really is sometimes too a prison mentality.
Yeah.
Right? I see that with a lot of guys that get out, like they'll have nothing, they won't have shit, but they'll make sure that you have something that you need.
There's a saying in there, if I'm down to my last soup, we're breaking that bitch in half, and you're getting half, I'm getting half.
Yeah.
And that is one of those few small good things that you do learn in there is if I eat, we all eat.
Yeah.
And you take care of your own. And that is one of the things that has definitely stayed with me getting out of, I'm not gonna see my friends struggle, man. If I can help, I'm gonna do whatever I can, because it hurts me worse to see you struggle than to see myself struggle.
Yeah. What are some of the other things that you want to do in the community? Like, what are some goals for you, like from a community outreach project? Do you want to speak to, youth at risk? What are some stuff that you're passionate about that you think you want to pursue on that end?
I really want to be able to speak with at-risk youth, kids getting in trouble, kids fighting and all that shit. Because I've been there. I've been through all of this, man.
Yeah.
I was that douchebag in my lower 20s fighting at the bar all the time. Like, for what I went to prison for, did I deserve it? No. Yeah. But have I been in fights before where I deserve to go to prison? Absolutely. I would like to speak to guys maybe looking to get out of prison or fresh out of prison, to show like there is a different way, bro.
Yeah.
You don't have to get out and do the same bullshit that you were doing. There is a different way, and I promise you, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, we live in such a time of instant gratification. So all these guys I want this now, I want this now, I want this now. Well, that's well and good, bro. You're gonna get this now and this now and this now, and then you're gonna get back in prison.
Yeah.
If you take your time and be patient, there's so much out there for you to have. So I definitely want to get involved in that. Honestly, I genuinely just love helping other people. And so anything that I can do, any offer I do get, I jump at, because it makes me feel good. Because at the end of the day, I'm living a pretty damn good life, man. My life's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm out of prison. Yes, been through this. Yes, been through that. Whatever. My life is great. It's not that bad. And there's so many people who are struggling so much more than me.
Yeah.
And like I said, it makes me feel better to help you and see you not struggling than for myself.
Yeah. Every day that you wake up and you have another opportunity to pursue your dreams, that is like the greatest feeling in the world, right? That's like what I'm most grateful for. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since I was 18 years old, and it's just like, God, the struggles, and you got good days and bad days, and you're not going to be motivated every day, so you have to have the discipline to do it, right? I know when we first started connecting and talking, we were talking about books. What are some of your favorite books that like really impacted your life?
The biggest one, hands down, was Mike Tyson's autobiography, Undisputed Truth. I read that book inside. I bought it off a guy in one of the dorms for like $5. And I read that book cover to cover numerous times. So when I was inside, every part of my sentence after my 28th birthday was to better myself.
Yeah.
So I'm in there as a barber. I'm remodeling the barber shop. I'm studying barbering books, small business books, and I'm reading fighter biographies, autobiographies. Dan Hardy, Chuck Liddell, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's the biggest one that stuck with me. Dan Hardy's also really stuck with me. And then when I got out, like you mentioned, Mike Surrey, he put me on to David Goggins.
Yeah.
And that book right there, I mean, that just...
Can't Break Me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, just from when he started, the first 30 seconds of it, you're like, oh, this is going to be raw.
Yeah, he's, man, you know what I love about David Goggins? He's like Tony Robbins, but with Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Right? But like way more savage.
Yeah.
But he doesn't pull any punches. And I mean, what I love is like just the brutal honesty of like, you know what? I was fat, I was abused, I was worthless, I was a piece of shit. And he's like, if you don't want to be a piece of shit anymore, then stop making excuses, get out there and do it.
Yeah.
But that book, I mean, incredible. Navy SEAL, he's done the Army Ranger, he's done Hell Week 3 times. When I heard about this guy and that he does these extreme marathons, I'm thinking stage marathons, right? Where you run 15 miles and you camp overnight and then you run another 10 miles or so on and so on. This motherfucker's running 100 miles straight.
Yeah.
In what, 26 hours? Yeah, man, David Goggins is a savage. And it's just rare in this world to be real, right? Because everything fucking offends everybody. And it's like, oh, you offended me. Oh, you like oranges, so you're saying that apples are, completely wrong, and everybody is a Facebook therapist.
And you forgot to mention mangoes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things, but yeah, Goggins Can't Break Me. That's an incredible book. Mike Tyson, I mean, I don't think there's a kid that didn't like look up to Mike when he was the heavyweight champion of the world, back then. And bro, like we were just talking about it, like, have you seen these videos? He's 53 years old, and I don't think there's a line of people wanting to get in there other than like, how much money am I gonna make to get knocked out?
Well, and that's why I said, like, I'll fight anybody But to fight Mike Tyson is all for notoriety and pay because you know you're going in there just to get knocked out.
And maybe not the same ever again when you wake up.
Like, this is going to hurt, but it's Mike Tyson. I mean, like, big props to Shannon Briggs, you know. Shannon called him out on Insta and whatnot, and they set up that fight, Shannon the Cannon.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's going to be an awesome 37 seconds. For sure.
Yeah,
like,
until he connects. I mean,
yeah,
you can still see the raw power, but what I wasn't prepared for is the speed.
No.
Like watching him hit Mitch, you're like, damn, he looks like a legit heavyweight
he
champion
hit the two
right
to
now.
the body, and even his trainer in full pads was like, all right, hold on.
Yeah.
Timeout. Like,
It's
lightning.
It's crazy. My wife got me tickets for my birthday 2 years ago in Vegas for the Mike Tyson show at the MGM, where he like talks about his life and, you know, kind of like the autobiography a little bit, but, you know, minced in. And it was awesome because he's real too. Like, he's just like, man, I fucked up. I did this, this, and this. One of my favorite stories is the one where he offered the zookeeper all this money to let him fight a real silverback gorilla.
Yeah.
And you know he would have.
And he would have.
Yeah,
he was dead ass serious.
Yeah. Yeah, he's crazy. But, you know, I think that his story is really inspiring too. Like through all the ups and downs and everything that's happened, like he's still there, he's still relevant, you know, and he's still making money. And now we're gonna get to see him fight BKB versus Shannon Briggs. You know, Briggs was a monster in his own right too, but when he hits Tyson, I think right now, this Mike Tyson, because of the mental focus, would have smashed Lennox Lewis.
Yes.
Like nothing against Lennox, he was a great champion, but he is not even in the same class of fighters as Mike Tyson when Mike was in his prime. And so he got that fight at the right time, right? You talk about those type of things all the time. So that was really exciting. Are you still reading books now that you're out?
I mean, I would like to say yes because it sounds good, but no, I can't. Honestly, if I'm not in a prison cell, I can't read a book.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. In my spare time, if I'm not training, I'm on YouTube. I'm watching Tyson. I'm watching Lomachenko, Sugar Shane, Mayweather. I'm studying these boxers. I'm studying their footwork. I'm studying their head movement. And if I do watch Netflix or anything else, I'm watching whatever fight movies are on there.
Yeah.
And that's all I do, and that's all I'm consumed with.
Yeah, the Mike Tyson documentary on Netflix is pretty cool too, because
I'm gonna have to check that out.
it's a little bit different from the book, but it's just it's powerful stuff.
Because it's so raw.
Yeah, you do. It's crazy. So like, I never watched Netflix until this year, and it's crazy. It's like, you know, Becca and the girls and everybody basically was like, dude, have you seen this on Netflix? I was like, I don't have fucking Netflix.
Right.
And it's on my phone. And then like I got into this habit of starting to do cardio at the gym, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna download it. And then the first documentary I saw was the Mike Tyson one. So then I was like, damn, then I watched the Conor McGregor one.
Yeah.
And before you know it, I was like, dude, I just ripped 90 minutes of cardio, no issues, because I hate doing cardio, right? Like on a machine, you're just like,
Don't we all?
yeah, this sucks. So
That's why I'm a heavyweight.
I know. I love your posts of missed food so much, man. It's been so hard for me. I've been doing macros and just been in my whole kick. But I started at 235 pounds in the end of 2018. Just kind of had lost myself a little bit, and I'd always had this drive for a passion. And now I'm like 177 pounds. And so it's just like I have a goal that I want to do, and I really want to run a marathon now and try some other stuff. But food is life.
Oh.
So like you kill me when you be posting and you're like, fat boy life, double burger with cheese. I'm
Because
like,
I'm a foodie. Like,
who isn't though?
I love trying new spots. I love going to new restaurants, and I'm a sucker for fast food, so everyone gets pissed at me. The only time I eat clean is when I'm in fight camp.
Yeah.
And I know that it's ridiculous, and I can't get to where I want to get living that way, and that's why I've now employed a nutritionist as well as a recovery coach.
Yep.
Because if I'm able to perform at the level I am, eating burgers and Sonic and nuggets and whatever nonsense, I can only imagine what level I'll get to eating the right foods and eating actual fuel for my body.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy, right? Like, a Big Country Roy Nelson.
Yeah.
He was he loved Burger King and everything. And if you look at him, he looks like a slob, but dude would take your head off.
Yeah.
Like he was, but now it's like, an athlete last year had posted things like doing above is not even enough now, because there's another JJ out there that with all your credentials, everything you've had, that maybe he's eating right and he's training harder and he's going harder. You know, at some point, everybody's got an equal out there from the athletic side. And so it's like, hey, I want to turn that corner and do this, you know, completely. So, you know, as I shared with you off camera, we have our plans are in the works, and the fights are going to be back a lot sooner than we talked about. So I'm sure that was some good little motivation for you to be like, it's showtime, baby.
That's why I said, man. That's why I'm in my recovery gym every day now. I'm doing these cryo treatments. I'm doing these compression treatments, cupping, dry needling. I've always prided myself on being the baddest dude in the room, the toughest dude in the room, and unbreakable. And like I said, coming from the childhood I came from, that couldn't break me, nothing else will.
Yeah.
Every day when I train to failure, because I train to try to get myself to quit. I try to get myself to break mentally. I haven't succeeded yet. So the universe is like, cool, I got you, bro. Here's rhabdo. Let me put you on your ass. And that's what made me kind of wisen up, like, all right, I'm not 20 years old anymore. You know, I'm not invincible. There's a whole different dynamic to training that I need to become knowledgeable with, because I know nothing about it. I've never iced a knee or put on muscle rub or none of that, man. If something hurt, I just pushed it harder because I figured I was being a sis. Like, that's just what it is. Like, I'm a man's man. That's how we were raised. We were raised to be tough. If you cry, you get your little ass kicked. That's because we were all raised before, you know, the PC generation we're in now, where let me count down from 37 times until you stop being a shithead. Like, no, I was ready to get your little ass kicked. And, you know, I meet Jesse with Junkyard Fitness, and he immediately puts me on a recovery plan. He starts setting up my nutrition plan and changes up my entire training plan. I'm like, this is the right place to be. This is what I've been missing. And like I told him, the talent, the training, the tenacity, whatever, I have that over here. The nutrition recovery, I have none of it. I know nothing about it. So what you say goes, man. I'll listen to every word, and I trust you explicitly, and it's working.
What's a typical day for you? So like, people can kind of fathom like what it takes to be a fighter these days, right? So like, from what time do you wake up? What time how many times are you training? And then obviously you're working on top of it, and then.
So pre-quarantine, I was up at 4 in. I was at Vasa Fitness at 5. I'd be at my job site at 6:30. I also work construction. I'd get done at 2:30 or so, 3 o'clock. Shoot home, shower, clean up, head to the barbershop. Work the barbershop for a couple hours. Then I'd be at Lumumba's at 6:30, and we'd go till about 9:30. And then I'm also with Zenith in Parker, a Drysdale affiliate for my BJJ. So some nights I would go there. Since quarantine had hit, and they shut the gyms down, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm driving to Idaho Springs, to Boulder, to Estes Park, to Morrison, to the mountains, and I'm running the mountains. I'm running my ass off, and then I get back down from the mountains, and I meet up with some of my teammates in the backyard, in the basement, wherever, and we're squabbing, we're sparring, we're grappling, we're getting it in every single day. And I think that's where I kind of messed up, and I pushed it too hard. I'm doing 7-mile mountain runs with a 75-pound vest on and an altitude mask on, just because I just don't know any better. I don't know. I'm just trying to push myself as hard as I can. And then come back down, and then we have 3-hour sparring sessions. Because to me, just this is what I want, and I'm not gonna stop until I get it. And I don't care how bad it hurts, because that's all mental to me. Our brain is going to break way before our body. Our body's resilient. I think that's shown in the CrossFit Games, in Hell Week, in these people who overcome so many obstacles they overcome. Your body's resilient. Your body's not gonna break. Your mind is. So I push it as hard as I can until I break mentally, and I don't. And now I just have to revamp it a little bit. But to succeed, man, in this fight game, it's not as easy as just knowing how to throw a punch. I think a lot of people get misconstrued where, oh, that guy's a good fighter. That's it. That's not it. There's a ton of these fighters we don't see day in and day out, because maybe they're not on social media, and they're getting it. They're getting their money every day, creatively, however they can, in their backyard, in their house, flipping tires, whatever they're doing, man.
And it's getting younger and younger. Like the evolution of MMA we were talking about, man, some of the kids that are like 13, 14, see them training in the gym, they've been doing this since they were 3 or 4. They're monsters, you know? So now it's like you got to be good at wrestling and boxing and kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, you know, and then the mental game, you know, it's a thinking man sport. Like you have to be smart and intelligent as well. It's like just, it's evolved so far. You know, it's exciting though, because it's also evolved into a business now.
Yep.
You know, and especially for somebody like you have a huge following, you know, you love doing the marketing, you know, aspect of it. Like you're a promoter's dream. So that's going to be, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun to see where this all goes over the next
Well, and that's years. Why I say, that's why I like doing also the community stuff is as fighters, we have a big platform.
Yep.
Now, I'm in kind of a unique situation. Like I'm fresh out of prison. I haven't thrown a punch yet. Just like Melvin said on that video where we're walking the mountains and I had fans call out to me and he's like, this dude's famous. He ain't even thrown a punch. I do have a big platform. My social media is very viral every day.
Yeah.
And I want to use that for more than just my own gain. I already have that. That's going to happen organically.
Yep.
When I get in the cage and I kick the shit out of these dudes, that's going to happen in and of itself. But these other things that kind of get overlooked in society is where I really want to use my platform for.
Yeah.
Because I feel that not enough guys do. I think, you know, so many guys first starting out, you're so hungry and you want this and you want that and you want it for all the best reasons. But then you start to get some bigger sponsors. You start to get some bigger purses.
Yeah.
You start to get a little notoriety and it goes to your head.
Yeah.
You start to believe your own hype. And then, you know, that where that arrogance or that bouginess comes in and you stop worrying about others because you're so focused on yourself. And I won't allow myself to get that way because prison mentality. If I eat, we eat. We all eat, period. And that's just the way I am.
That's awesome. You know, we were talking about it off camera before. I know that you've inspired a lot of people that are going to watch this podcast might not know you. And be a little bit unsure about reaching out to you, you know, to ask you advice and things. I mean, what can you tell them? Because you are so down to earth and humble. I know you'd be willing to help anybody.
You know, I've actually had quite a few of these instances so far, which it blows me away, man. Like, I'm a regular dude. Like, I work in a barbershop. I drive a regular car, bro. Like, there's nothing so special or grandiose about me, in my opinion. You know, I'm out here doing the best I can every day to succeed.
Yeah.
And people reach out to me quite often that seeing my determination or seeing the way I carry myself, that it motivates them to work harder, to be a better person or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest compliment ever. That is so much bigger than anything fight related, because that means that I'm doing the right thing as a person that is causing others to do better.
Yeah.
And that's what we need in this world. There's so much hate in this world, bro, and it sucks.
Yeah.
There needs to be more just kindness.
Yeah.
Just doing for others, small things. Step outside of yourself for a minute, man, and care about someone else.
Yeah, I mean, you could have every reason to be upset and angry. Spending 6 years of, you know, by a lot of people, their 20s are such a good time in your life, you know. So to be in prison is tough. So to get out with that mentality, and like I said, that's the first thing I noticed is like, I don't know who this guy is, but damn, he's hustling every day. You know, posting your barbershop pictures of cutting hair and just funny ass stuff. And so I'm glad that we were able to connect and. You know, I'm really proud of you, man. Like, you're a great example for anybody going through these problems to be able to, that you can overcome it. I'm excited to see you get in that cage for the first time, and you got a lot of self-confidence, and I know that there's a lot of guys out there that are willing to test it.
And I hope so. Yeah. You know, I think people don't really know me yet. They will.
Yeah.
And like I put in the video with me and Melvin sparring, I take all fades, man. You know, put your money up. Like, I like to fight. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So bring it, but make sure you're ready, because I'm gonna kick the shit out of you. It just is what it is. So give it all you got, buddy. Put on a good show for however long you last. That's just what it is.
Hey, people love to see the heavyweights for multiple reasons.
Absolutely.
You know, last year we had a professional heavyweight King of Sparta tournament.
Yes.
Dude, we had some killers in there, and Dustin Jacoby, he's another
Nasty.
one. He is,
Dude, yeah, I watched it.
When he said he wanted to be in the tournament, I thought, okay, he has a real shot of winning it, but I didn't expect him to dust Cody East like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cody East is a UFC vet as well and a big guy. And I mean, then dude, the way Dustin just went in there, he was just in flow. He is so exciting. He's such an exciting fighter. And he's another one, man. He's so humble.
He's so cool.
Yeah, he's so
cool as hell.
You'd have no clue the ass whooping you're in for a guy like that.
No, he's like a big old goofball. Like, he's awesome. But you have this guy who trains day in and day out with Ian Heinisch, who I believe he's 11th in the UFC right now.
Yeah, I think he's like 11 or 12.
11 or 12.
Yep.
Multiple time high school state champion from Ponderosa.
Another incredible story.
Dude, multiple time national champion.
Yep.
I used to compete against him.
Yeah.
Ian Heinisch beat the hell out of me in Pee Wee wrestling. Would throw me all over the place and be like, oh, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Kiss my ass. Yeah. You know, dude's a monster. Trains with Chris Camozzi day in and day out.
Yeah.
Complete animal UFC vet, you know?
Chris is another one. He's so humble. Like,
he's cool.
You would never think that guy's a fighter because he's just so nice and genuine.
And that's who we should be.
Yes.
And those guys, Camozzi and Jacoby and Gaethje, those are the true ambassadors of our sport.
Yes.
And those are the type of fighters that the rest of us should aspire to be and be proud to be. Yeah. For the younger generation coming up.
Yeah.
All these kids, they want to be fighters. My little nephews, I posted a little video on my Facebook a couple days ago. My little nephews jumped me in the living room and they're kicking the shit out of me, and they're 2, 4, and 6 years old.
Yeah.
They want to be like their Uncle JJ. They want to fight in a cage. They want to box. They want to do this and that. And to the point where my 2-year-old, my little nephew, he changed his whole way of walking now whenever I'm around to where he walks, he walks tough.
Yeah.
And it showed me what an impact we have on these kids.
Yes.
I'm a nobody. I haven't thrown a punch yet, but I have nephews who look up to me. I have children of friends who look up to me. These kids who I cut their hair.
Yeah.
So many people look up to me, and I think a lot of fighters got to open your eyes, man. Like, we're bigger than we realize to that generation.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I mean, there are so many classy fighters here, like Neil Magny. He's one of my favorites too. He is so humble. He's another one. He's just such a gentleman always. Corey Sandhagen, number 3 in the world. And he told everyone,
Sandhagen told everybody, he said, I'm on a different level from these guys.
Well,
you're going to see it.
Let me tell you something. So we talk about Corey Sandhagen all the time. What's crazy about him is when he was just 16, 17 years old, we were hearing about him.
Yes.
That this kid's going to be the next world champion. And man, when we saw him, in his 3rd professional fight, he fought Josh Huber. And Josh is a gangster.
Yes, he is.
Right? And
yes, he is.
Beat Josh. And it's just like, man, but Corey too, he's just so humble. These guys like Drew Dober now is really breaking into, he's on a roll right now. But these guys, they're humble and they're great role models for people. And I was talking to a friend about it yesterday. Is like, sometimes wine and spirit liquor companies and fighters don't have the best reputation for people that don't know any better, that are living outside the bubble, right?
Yes.
But I see the most giving, caring people that you could ever meet in your entire life. The best people I've ever met in my life have come from the fight community.
Well, it's like owning a pit bull.
Yeah.
The most loyal, protective breed known to man, but with the stigma around it, and so many people are afraid of it. Fighters, you're with a fighter, you're safe in any situation.
Yeah.
There's just a stigma around us. And that's why I like Dan Hardy's book so much. And it gave me a different point of view of things, and where he's very adamant about never being referred to as a cage fighter. He's not a cage fighter. He's a mixed martial artist.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We spend years and years and thousands of hours learning all these different disciplines. We're not Tank Abbott. We're not cage fighters. We're not douchebags.
Yeah.
We're artists. We're mixed martial artists. We're professionals.
Yeah.
And that's how we need to view ourselves and carry ourselves.
Yeah.
Not just some big meathead that can throw a punch.
Well, I mean, it's just life in general, right? Like you brought up Tank Abbott. Do you remember War Machine?
Oh, yeah.
He went and he, assaulted and beat the hell out of Christy Mack. And, the guy was crazy. Dude, I know guys that aren't fighters that are completely nuts and insane that have done worse stuff, and they thought they were the upstanding citizen in their community and lived on a golf course community. So it doesn't matter in our society. there's good people and bad people no matter what. But the purpose of this podcast is to share the stories like yours. And, like last week with Budokai, I mean, he became addicted to drugs at 7 years old, right? And so to see what he's doing now, and like for you, I mean, to go 6 years in prison, brother, and come out with this mindset and that smile and that motivation to make your dreams happen, that's what we want to share for people. And, I just really thank you for being a guest here today, brother.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. And I think that's an important thing for people to see. Don't judge people on their past.
Yeah.
Judge them on who you meet today.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everyone's a good person by any means.
Yeah.
But don't get a preconceived notion of someone because they're a felon or they're an ex-addict or they're this, that, or the other. Get to know them.
Yeah. Almost everybody has been toxic to another person in their life. And that's a key thing. So, if somebody out there watching today wants to get a hold of JJ, we have all his social media handles right here. Where do you cut hair at?
I work at His and Hers Salon and Barbershop. It's at the Southlands Mall, E470 in Smoky Hill.
We'll put that address up here too so you guys can follow it. Anybody out there know an incredible woman or a man that has an incredible past and has overcome incredible circumstances to be where they are today? Please share it. Send me an email right here at this link below to this story, and we look forward to seeing you on next week's podcast of Intrepidity. Until then, stay safe and take care.